Hey guys, Kaz, Iconic.
Hey,
Hey
Hi,
everyone.
everyone.
Kaz is driving, guys, so we have to be nice to her. Hey GB, Grammy, Nate Folk, Zen. I think I saw Chasing Truth, Freedom, Elaine, Junie. Hey girl. Hey Nay. We got a busy show, guys. We have a guest backstage from Lucin. We're going to leave her anonymous. She's going to tell us, well, she's going to answer some questions for us. And then Jim is going to be on at 9 p.m. And then Iconic and I are going to end it with a little information we found out on Candace Cooley. I'm just going to be blunt. Hey, Benson. So let's bring our guest up. I don't even know if I have a mod in here. 1 second. Let me go ahead and make Junie a mod. Okay.
hey, Gigi.
Welcome, Mrs. Lucin.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. How are you?
I'm okay.
So Miss Lucin lives in Lucin County. She's going to answer some questions for us. She actually knows Dylan, not like on a serious personal level, but they've had some interactions. So let's go ahead and start. So Miss Lucin, tell us in the audience kind of who you are, but not your first name, and where you live.
Well, currently I live in Lucin. I own the property. I bought the property about 4 years ago with my husband. We have a son.
Your sound
My
just went
sound?
out.
Oh, it did? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's a little filtered though. Hey,
If your
Chip.
YouTube is open at all, you might close that out because it sometimes mutes
I
just
will
a
check.
little.
Okay. Hold on 1 moment.
Take your time.
Okay. I closed everything out. I don't believe anything else is open.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay.
It sounds
You can hear me?
great.
Okay.
All the way to
My husband and
Australia.
I. Oh, okay. My husband and I bought the property about 4 years ago. About 320 acres, a little more than that. We were doing or are doing conservation. There are a lot of birds where our land are, and a lot of caves. So we've been doing a lot of work to stop water, so it would be more habitable. Are you there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it would be more habitable for the animals. And we also started a farm. We do have a farm number. We're legitimate. We have ducks and chickens and rabbits. And we eventually are going to make it larger. And it's cattle land out there. Just so everybody knows, it's grassland. It's not like
So
a dry
you told,
desert. We're in a drought right now. That's why it looks so bad.
yeah, we're going to show some pictures of the weekend of the rain. So you told us earlier that you actually used to live in Salt Lake, and then you
Yes.
actually are moving to Lucin permanent now to live there full time.
Yes. We've been, for the last 4 years, I'd say we spend 3 days out of the week in Lucin and 4 in Salt Lake City because we have to work. And so that's what we've been doing for about 2 years on a very regular basis because we had our animals out there. So I would say more 4 days a week we were out there than 3. The first 2 years of the 4, we were doing a couple of days, 3 days, and now we're permanently out there. We had to set up some structures, and there's nothing out there. We've got power lines that go through our property, but I have to drop lines. I have to drill a well. You have to get building permits. There's a lot of stuff to do out
Yeah,
there
you
before
told
you
me
can
earlier
really
that you guys been working for a while getting the soil ready.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. So working real hard is what we've been doing. A lot of
So
shoveling and a lot of wheelbarrowing.
So tell us about Lucin and tell us about, do you have neighbors? I mean, are there families out there, or is it just seasonal workers that come out there for the farm?
Okay, we do have hunters that come out there, but it's primarily, I would say there are about 12 families out there. Some are retired, like we have a retired nuclear engineer, a CIA agent out there. We have a gentleman that used to work in an airplane manufacturing plant, being the foreman, or, he ran the floor, and a retired nurse. And they have a few sons in their 20s that are going to start cattle out there. We have another gentleman with his wife, and they have 2 children that are under the age of 8. We have another family out
Wow.
there that have an 8-month-old baby and a 3-month-old son. So it's pretty much families, retired mostly though. And we all
Okay.
have to own at least 160 acres. So when you talk about neighbors, we're saying 5 miles away. Okay. But we can see each other. I can see when there's a car that comes through our valley, I'm quite aware of it, probably 5 miles away
Yeah.
easily. You can hear
Yeah.
it.
Not only do you probably hear it, but you can probably see the dirt track coming.
Oh yeah, you can see them. And there's like one main road that goes through there, pretty much, except for the roads to people's property. And we do have the sun tunnels out there, which is
Now,
an art.
when you say the one main road, is that West Pigeon, Little
No,
Pigeon,
no, it's Pilot Mountain Road.
Pilot Mountain? Okay.
And people keep calling it Pilot Road. It's not. It's Pilot Mountain Road, and it's probably 35 miles long minimum. I'm sure it's a lot longer.
So when you hear about the rumors with all of the meth heads and the meth caves and all of that, have you ever seen anything on that? Can you
Never.
clarify? Have you ever seen any meth people, meth
Okay.
shacks?
Well, we've definitely been hearing people say that. The only people I keep hearing say that, though, don't live there. I don't know. I've never seen them. I don't know how you could exist out there. They're pretty quick on people if they drop a trailer down that doesn't own property. They're pretty quick on them and make them move along, because you've got this thing with the federal law. I understand if you stay there long enough, you can almost claim that property, and they don't want
Wow.
that to happen. Like I said, you can't even build a structure unless you have 160 acres. So you will die out there. There's no water source except for Lucin Pond. Can you hear me? I'm getting
Yes, we're listening.
buzz. Okay. So I don't know. It's different than Nevada. They're different laws. From what I understand, the Nevada side's completely different. So maybe
Okay.
that activity is going on over there.
On
But
the Nevada side.
yeah, my husband and I are very athletic, and we often hike those mountains and go up there. And I was just up there probably 4 days ago, at Governor's Spring, looking around, and to be honest with you, looking for Dylan. And we go by a lot of those mines. And they're not holes or anything. They're in the ground or anything. It's literally a mine, like, in the sidewall of the mountain, they're digging in. And I don't see any activity. I don't see any meth heads. I don't see any squatters. And to be honest with you, getting up to those mines is very dangerous. Driving up there is scary. So otherwise, like the Lucin Valley, there's nothing like that. There's maybe somebody's camping in the mountains. I doubt it though. Maybe. Not squatters like that. Like I said, you die. There's no water out there. So I don't know why they're describing that area like that. So no, there are no meth heads that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. That's all I can say. And no squatters. You can pull up the plat map and see who owns the property,
I think
It's all
she's
public.
done that actually.
Yeah. So we're just confused, and everybody's calling us all these names. And like I said, there's only like 12 families out there. And, I've got neighbors that have been doing a lot of work the last 4 years, getting ready to like rent out cameras to hunters. One guy wanted to do a bed and breakfast. I was going to build a labyrinth and join the Labyrinth Society. I already spoke to them. They've got this big worldwide tour thing to come see labyrinths. We got the sun tunnels out there, so we get a lot of people from Europe that are art majors in college to come see the sun tunnels. So we were all going to glom onto that, the sun tunnels and the hunting, and try to make a business, like a recreational area. And well, I don't think that's going to happen anymore, but that was pretty much a lot of people's plans out there.
It's the land of the Transcontinental Railroad. The Golden Spike is just north. The Donner Party came through there. That's where they fouled up famously.
Yeah, there's a lot of historical stuff there. Yeah, we have the Donner Reed Party went through there, and they have a lot of historical markers in there. So, and we got the Spiral Jetty out there. There's a lot of stuff out there people come to see.
Oh, you're muted.
I'm muted?
No, Mars.
Oh, okay.
I told you, no, I was talking to, I told you earlier that I think you should build a market out there.
Yeah, we thought about that, like a little stand, where we would put firewood and everything and kind of do the thing where, leave us some money kind of deal if you want.
Take the wood.
Take what you need, leave what you can kind of deal. We talked about it.
I think you
Absolutely.
should. I think
Yeah,
you
and
should.
water, I think, for just in
Yeah,
case
we'll get into the
somebody's in
water.
trouble.
I have
Hmm.
water on my question. So you've been
Okay.
there for a while. You've never seen a meth head. You don't see squatters. If somebody tries to take over the land,
Nope.
and there's 12 families out there, you told me. 12
Yeah, about
families
that. Yeah, about
that
that.
live there full time.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So now let's talk about Dylan, the reason why we're all here.
Mhm.
Okay.
You know Dylan, correct?
I do. I do.
How do you know Dylan Rounds?
I met him at Lucin Pond 2 years ago about. I was getting some water for my ducks, and he came running up in his pickup truck and hopped out and went over to the spring and filled up his water jug and started talking to me. I think
Aw.
my first question was, do you drink that water? And he said, yeah. I was a little shocked because I don't drink it.
Is it
So,
not? I mean, I drink spring water. I live in the mountains in Maine. I'm 500 feet
mm.
up, and I go to the spring and fill up my water bottles. Is it not good to drink the spring water there?
Well, it's a pipe that comes from the mountain, and you never know. It's like 50. I think the last time somebody lived in Lucin was 50 some years ago, maybe even 70, like as a town. And so who knows what happened to that pipe system. So I just rather would get it analyzed before I start drinking it. I mean, I just don't know. It could be compromised somehow.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
But Dylan seemed to be, that was years
Yeah.
ago.
Tell
And
me how.
he was
So he
drinking it
was.
consistently. So
So
I
he was
never got
about
sick.
17 then when you first met Dylan.
Yeah.
And when you met him and you asked him like, who are you? Do you live? Do you have property? Was he living out there at that time at 17 on the farm alone when he would come out there seasonal to get the soil
Yeah.
ready?
Yeah. He said he was.
Oh,
That's what he
Wow.
told us. Yeah.
Wow.
And he said that he was growing feed for animals, grain, stuff like that. That's what he told me. That came from his mouth. So I
So
don't know.
grain or like a barley feed for the chickens or
He didn't
grain?
specify. He just said feed for animals. So probably grasses, since they grow so well out there.
How would you
When it,
explain Dylan?
just
We
like
have
his
to
mother
get that
did,
going.
to the T, exactly like she said. Hardworking boy, down to earth, seemed straight and narrow, would never drink, smoke, no partying.
Wow.
I wasn't surprised to hear he never had a girlfriend. She nailed him to the T. Absolutely. She described him very, very well. Yeah, he had his work to do.
So I'm going to ask you a question because it's been going around the YouTube streets about maybe Dylan having a relationship with a 62-year-old man, Kurt.
Well,
Did
I said before that he's one of those people. I'm 53 years old. So
I'm 50.
he's one. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just heard you say something. He's one of those people, at least with us, that appeared to have no problem hanging out with older adults, being an equal. I mean, I was definitely not talking to a child, mentally. I mean, that he was not a child. He was
So
definitely a hardworking adult and
kind of
was
like
driven.
an old soul, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that. Sure, absolutely. And I mean, maybe it was just his choice, his pickings of people out there. But I know he mentioned he hung out with Don and the other guy like as friends. He didn't mention them being work hands or anything. But when I was talking to him, he did mention Don and that they hung out as friends. And Don's obviously an older gentleman. I know Don. So, I just think he had no problem hanging out with anybody. I probably, he wouldn't feel comfortable hanging out with teenagers, is what I would guess, to be honest with you,
Yeah,
because it was so mature.
He sounds like a
exactly.
grown up.
What do you want to
Yes.
ask about Dylan Iconic with her while we were on the subject of Dylan?
I guess what was like the main interactions you guys would have? I mean, you said that you weren't really friends, but kind of go more into that relationship that you did have.
Okay. Well, when I first met him, I was more coming into town, well, my animals were there then, so probably about 4 days out of a week, every week. And he more was one of those people that I knew he was one of us, in the sense that he's in the community, he's in the valley, he seemed trustworthy. So I called him actually once because there were llamas running around the road and I didn't know whose they were. So I called him to know if he knew who owned them. And I was on my way out of Lucin, so I wanted to make sure that whoever owned them was aware that they were loose. And I knew Dylan knew people in the valley, so I kind of handed it over to him to help me with that. And then I also spoke to him in the winter because all my water froze and I couldn't get out there. And like I said, I have birds out there. And I called Dylan to help me with the feed and the water until I could get out there.
So you had
And he
Dylan's
sent
cell phone
some.
number, and you
Oh yeah,
guys
I
would
still
text
have
and
it.
be friendly neighbors to help each other out.
Oh yeah, I have text threads with Dylan's and phone calls with Dylan. Yes, absolutely.
So
He
very
And
was a reliable person to call in Lucin when there was something going on, I guess is what I would say. That was not dangerous, like animals missing or I would never call him for like if something bad happened, but more of, hey man, can you help me out? I'm
so
in trouble here.
willing to go out of his way to help a neighbor.
Absolutely. And you know what? All of them are. And I think that's why I got so upset with being told that we're all squatters, we don't own our land, we're putting on private property lines and sticking guns in people's faces. News
yeah,
to me. That's not true. But we all, because I told you before, we're 2 hours away from really the police probably showing up. I hate to even say that out in public, but I guess everybody knows that now. And if like, okay, when I'm out of town and somebody pulls up on my property, they are greeted probably within 5 minutes by a neighbor, friendly at a distance, saying, "Who are you? What do you want? Move along."
I would imagine it'd have to be that way.
Yeah, it
so
has to be. Absolutely. But that's
when was,
you. We don't have crime out there that I'm aware of. When I'm carrying my gun, you do have to have guns out there. I mean, I got mountain lions. I've got rattlesnakes. There are issues out there that you may need to be armed. Coyotes is the biggest one, really. I just want to shoot. I haven't even had to do it yet, but you'd like to be able to make a big sound so they go away.
Miss
You
Right.
Lucin, Iconic
Mhm.
has a pet. Iconic here has a pet coyote.
Oh yeah, he
Oh, that's
runs around
cool.
the neighborhood.
He runs around the neighborhood. She tries to feed him. I'm like, stop
Oh
feeding the
my.
wildlife.
I feel so bad.
Yeah, they're a little intimidating, but they run in packs around us.
Yes.
So
So Miss Lucin, when is the last time you saw Dylan before he went missing?
Oh, 2 years.
yeah, probably 2 years ago. I more spoke to him and texted him. He's on the other side of the valley. I mean, I can see his truck running in and out,
So
but
you
we're
saw
not.
the truck and stuff, but you just didn't really see him for a couple of years since he
Yeah,
went and saved the ducks and the chickens.
yeah, yeah. He's. I don't know. He was doing his own thing. To be honest with you, before this happened, we were just discussing going down to him and seeing if we could buy some of his animal grain that he was growing. We were gonna be customers, I guess, is what you were gonna would say. Or at least we were gonna make a proposal to him, because
So
I knew he was out there doing that.
this was going to be actually the first crop that he harvest would be this year.
Sure, I believe that. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we understand. But like I said, I've never been on Dylan's property. There was no reason for it, So it was more, like I said, somebody that was in the valley that I met, I connected with, I trusted, and occasionally I would have to contact him to see if he could help me. Because yeah, he was one of those souls that will go out of his way and help you. Absolutely. But like
Nice.
I said, everybody out there that I know is like that.
He can be an awesome guy, but when you're out there where you are, because, actually Ivo called me back today and I forgot to call the owner of Lucin Airport. I need to get a hold of him.
Okay, yeah, we
But
know
you
about
also said that Ivo.
Yeah, we know.
It basically comes down to 12 families living there, but we're going to talk about something real quick. I want to finish these questions that we wrote down because we're going to get into the guy that was just arrested. And hold on, let's just go with what. So you said that you were the ones that called monsters under the bed to have them come out to your land.
Yep.
And that
So
was
now
the
everybody
video.
knows who I am, though. But yes.
Was that the video where they were searching that wash down off the lower tracks?
Yep.
Okay. So you got a hold of them.
I called him because see, you have to understand is that nobody is communicating to us. I have not had a sheriff come up to my land yet. I haven't had anybody from the family speak to me yet. So, I'm going
one sec. Let me interrupt you because the audience is not. Okay, so what Miss Lucin is saying is that since Dylan has gone missing, tell the side chat who's come and what have they done in far of looking on your property for Dylan? Have they come there or?
Okay, we had one incident. We just finally permanently moved out there, and I was a bit in a corner. I had one more run.
No, not that yet. Not that yet.
Okay.
I'm talking about
Otherwise?
No, what you just said.
About the fact that they never showed up? The police? Or Candace's family to talk to us?
No,
Is that what you mean?
No. I was saying about some monsters under the bed.
Yeah.
You went out and filmed that, and you know where that shack is that he's filming today.
Yeah, I know. Well, he did it yesterday.
And you guys were going to go burn it down.
I didn't say we were going to go burn it down. No.
No, we wanted to.
No, I said that if it's not after this case, if it's resolved, I'm going to find out who owns that property, see if it should be there. And if it's not going to be supposed to be there, I'm going to contact our local sheriff, and us as locals will probably dismantle it. We are not going to have some shack standing in our valley that is a danger to us. That will not be allowed. But I am aware of it.
Okay, explain that since you live there and you know the land well, you and your husband, you were talking about the drinking water, Dylan getting the water from the spring. Explain the water rights a little bit, like how the water works, like the water rights. Dylan had a deep well, I heard.
Okay.
And one pressure cleaner in Lucin.
Okay. Yeah, there's well, I don't know what would you call it, a special section in the water rights in the state of Utah that says Lucin is anybody that owns land there or more than 160 acres gets water rights. You don't have to ask and beg. I get them. They are mine. We get water rights. Okay. That's one of the reasons why people buy that land out there is, from what I understand, water rights are like gold and very rare to get a hold of. That's why. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is if there's any squatters out there and stuff, and I would know because they would be at Lucin Pond to get water. Otherwise, they've got to be up in the mountains.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because there's no water.
Do you have anything you want to ask on to up of her knowing Dylan, and we are to the water rights?
Okay, I do apologize for dropping off. I went through a black spot and I couldn't pull over on a freeway and restart it.
Well, Kaz drives a Fiat, so it was the fact too that your little hard, sexy engine was kind of had a little feedback.
Oh, I do apologize for that.
Oh, is that what that was? I wondered what that was.
Yeah, it was. I do apologize.
Sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I was listening, even though I was driving and trying to concentrate with the mad idiots on the road. No, you pretty much covered everything. That was great. Thank you so very much.
No, we're not done, Kaz. I
know. For what she's covered already, that's been awesome.
Yes.
Oh well, thank you. I'm glad at least I'm being clear.
No, you've been extremely clear.
So, Kaz, I appreciate it. Yeah, we wrote down some great. Well, we went over the questions with you, and if you didn't want to answer them, I told you don't have to. So, Kaz, we're at 11. So.
Okay.
Take over with your gorgeous accent.
All right. I've got to look at the questions myself. Put me in a spot, woman. I've only just turned my computer.
So I'll ask her. Okay. So a lot of people talk about Don, and we're not going to talk any last names, but a lot of people talk about Don. And I guess Don used to work with Dylan's grandfather, and then Dylan took over the farm, and he was working for Dylan, and Don got fired a couple of weeks prior before Dylan went missing. Right. Have you ever had any run-ins with Don? Do you know who Don is? Have you met him?
Well, what do you run-ins? I know Don. Sure, I've met Don.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you know Don.
Yeah, I know what he looks like. I know him. Yep, yep, yep.
So you've had
Not-
interactions with him.
Absolutely.
And what are your thoughts on Don?
Oh, I don't know. He's got one of those Santa Claus beards, and he's probably in his mid-50s or so, and he comes off as a big guy. I don't know. He seemed friendly. His words are friendly. He seems nice, but I guess somebody could call him a grumpy old man, I suppose, is what I've heard.
So on the mother's interview with Heavy D, when she talks about the man to the west, that's a grumpy old man.
That's him.
Is she referring to Don?
I thought she accused Don straight out. She definitely took it back, but I would say if Don didn't do it, I would be very upset. I'm sure he's being ostracized by many in the community because they don't know.
Oh.
Including ourselves. And I really hate to do that to somebody. And if Don's out there and hears that, I really apologize, Don. If you didn't do anything, that is not intentional. It's just that we have to protect our own, and we don't know.
At the end of the day, after what we found out and more today and what's going on, I am definitely going towards something happened from people in the Nevada side.
That's what we all believe. But his mother said that we're also a bunch of, I apologize. I'm not angry at her. I understand. I would toss over every stone to find my own son. I understand that. But she didn't give any of us a chance. She called us all liars. And I've had somebody that was directly across from the search party that even offered for them to sit on his land if they got pushed off because of BLM. And he was trying to tell them information and offering to help the search. And she just screamed at him and told him to go away. And then she called him a liar.
Squeaky Wheel wants to know, is Don enough of a grumpy old man to bash somebody over the head with a shovel?
I don't see it.
No.
I don't see it.
Okay.
I didn't have any red flags with Don. I don't see it. And I understand like the whole older guy doesn't want to hear a 19-year-old yelling you around. But I think when you go in a situation like that, you're quite aware that he's your boss. And I just don't see it. Like, really stewing for 3 weeks. I don't see it.
It would be too obvious.
I just don't see it. I don't see it in the man's personality, but I don't know anything in that aspect. Who knows? Maybe. But I just, as a person that met him, I don't see it. That doesn't mean he doesn't know something. I don't know.
But to be friends with his grandfather and to have the land, and at first the rumor is that Chase was a partner and he was mad that Dylan ended up getting the farm, and that's probably why he killed him. But then I thought, that is so obvious. Like, why would you do that, knowing his family and his parents? And
I don't know. Well, we don't know. We don't know any. I didn't even know those guys worked for Dylan. From Dylan, when he spoke to me, the only impression I got is it was one of his friends out there that he hung out with. That's all I got. We don't know. Like I said, I've never been to Dylan's property, so I didn't know any detail like that. I didn't ask Dylan that. That wasn't my business. It was more, friendly niceties, I guess is what you would say, is who are you? I'm this, where are you living kind of deal, I don't know. I don't know any of that. That's what I'm saying. I don't know any of that.
Okay, Cass, before we get to the 12, this is one of the pictures that she sent us of the weekend. You can explain this picture to us.
Me? Okay.
Yeah, on the screen. It's the three of you with the river running through.
Yeah, I'm not there. That's actually the day I left. And this is how much we help each other. One of the other property owners went onto my property to take pictures to send to me to show me what happened to my land that day. So anyhow, those are the pictures they sent me. And those are people that live out there. And so you're looking at the side of our mountain they call flash flood running through.
I'm coming to visit you, and I'm bringing an inner tube. I'm going mud water rafting.
Oh, yeah, that's funny. Well, you'd be surprised. The canyons are pretty big. When that water, we've got 20-foot high looking canyons from water running through down on some of our lands.
I'm going to finish showing the pictures before we move on. Here's another picture that she sent of the water of the floods that day. Now, you live out there. When it rains and you guys drive your truck. Maybe your husband can answer this. Just tell me, what are your guys' thoughts of Dylan's truck being pressure cleaned? And you said it was found where he parks the C truck. Oh no, it was
I,
found at the pond.
I have never, ever washed my truck out there. It's useless.
It's-
Nobody washes their vehicles.
That's my husband.
And you know what? It was rainstorming. That could mimic a pressure wash. I don't know.
So
It was
out of
raining
your
so hard.
It was so hard.
so
I mean,
out of your experience though from living in the mud, so if you see a car that is parked in the middle of a rainstorm and there's no tire tracks and it's pressure cleaned, what are your the husband's thoughts? Like, what do you think?
I
Why?
believe that it was pressure washed. I'm not questioning that. I don't know
No,
what
I
Phil's
believe that, but why
saying
would
over
that?
there.
Why? How would that work?
Sorry.
So you're saying that if they did take Dylan's truck, it had to have been back before the storm, correct?
Oh, I wouldn't know either way, but I know that storm was really, 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 really hard. It rained for it rained for 3 days straight, and the wind was outrageous. It was one of our worst storms out there.
And you
It was
said the rain
terrible.
started Friday.
Yeah, we were building a building out there, a shed kind of thing, and for the animals, a paddock. And we would work for probably about a half hour, an hour, watch that storm come in and run. And wait till it went through, come back out and build again and run. It was one of those weekends.
Yeah, what
So,
I'm trying to ask your husband is, like, what sense or how would that happen? So let's just say that the person that did something to Dylan, God forbid, used his truck to do something. If you brought the truck back and there was no tracks, wouldn't that truck had to have been parked there on Friday before the storm started?
oh gosh,
Well,
I
no,
don't know.
because with the wind and the rain, any track would have been wiped.
Okay.
There would have been zero tracks because of the erosion of the weather.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
really, really, really windy. I don't think most people know what it feels like to be out in such an open area without any buildings around you and like a 65-mile-an-hour wind coming at you and holding it. Like it stays for a very long time. It's a
So-
gust, but it sticks.
So basically, Dylan could have pulled that truck back in Sunday afternoon, and the tracks would have been gone from the weather a couple
Yeah, I
hours
think
later, whatever.
I think the tracks may have been gone, absolutely, but I would have to agree with his mother, especially the soil down there. It's different than ours. I've got silty loam. They've got more clay, not necessarily on his land, but down around, like driving into his land. So I would say she's right in the sense that it almost set up like cement. I did hear her say that, and I would have to agree with her. If my truck had mud spatter all over it, I would assume that it might not be washed off, but the tracks would be.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ladies, Iconic, you've been quiet.
I've been listening. So I asked you this before we talked, and someone in the chat actually asked about the militia group. And since you were saying that it's mainly just families and you don't know of any kind of nefarious activities happening, what would you say as far as the rumor of militia?
Okay, we've never seen a militia. And when I say families, I'm normally, okay, it's like the men of the household may run up on their four-wheel, their ATV or something, them alone. We're not talking groups of men. We're talking one man, one neighbor will
Like
go over there.
This person.
Just to say what's up. Nobody's going to pull a gun out on anybody out there. That does not happen. That is not a good idea. It would not be recommended. So it's more, you always keep a distance. You keep your hands out so they know you're not armed in the sense that in your hands, and you ask. You say, who are you? Why are you here? And if they don't know the names of the people that live there and they don't have a good reason, you just ask them kindly to move along, private property. And people do.
Right.
It's not a dangerous area. That's what really shocked me is, I wouldn't be bringing my kid out there and investing this money and time if I'm living in a dangerous area. My husband came from Chicago and I came from Toledo, Ohio, which is the Detroit area. And we don't want to live in that crime area. We've been there, done that when we were children. And, we don't want to live like that. And that's one of the reasons we're basically trying to retire out there,
Definitely.
So what we're trying to do, and yeah, it is desolate. You know, I hear people, I hear what they're saying. I understand, I do. And it wasn't an easy decision that we made when we did that. We know what we were getting into.
We are not a militia.
But you know, we're older, but we're both skinny and hardworking people. And we thought we could do some conservation and leave something good for our son. That's what we were trying to do. Have a good
It's nice.
asset where he could have cattle and have a livelihood. You know, I just wanted to leave something to my son.
No militia.
And there is no militias out there that we're aware of. And I did call the PI because I want to know what militia, where are they, what are they doing, and where are these meth labs? Because we don't want them and we need to take care of them.
Oh, absolutely.
What was
Absolutely.
your husband referred to you guys as before we came live?
What? What
There was
referred?
one term he used to describe what y'all are trying to do, and it was so cute. I wish I could remember.
Who said it?
Your husband.
We're taming the desert.
He says we're taming the desert.
Taming the desert.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So
I
anyhow,
love your rabbit.
can I say something, or are you going to ask me about what's going
No.
on with Dylan and the search issue?
No, you say. What would you like to say?
Okay. Well, in the very beginning, you know, nobody reached out to any of the locals. I'm saying that none of the search parties came to us as property owners and asked if they could search our property and if we have any wildlife cameras. Did we see anything? Did we speak to Dylan? Anything weird going on? We got none of that. Nobody has spoken to me yet at all. And I did have men before the search parties, the police were out there like this past weekend. I'm aware of that. They had private parties, search parties out there, and they ran up to my property, and my son came out, who was 18, just turned 18 at the time. And I told you guys I was in Salt Lake City then. And he asked them, "Who are you?" He heard men's voices. He came out of we have a generator house, came out of the generator house to see what's going on. Sees men 50 feet above him by my solar panels and on an ATV. And he said, "What are you doing here?" And this is private property. You don't belong here. And they told him basically that we don't own our property and that they're going to search my land.
Oh my
And
God.
they were armed. And you're talking like, I was really angry at the time, and I don't even know. I don't think she has so much more going on. So maybe the family wasn't aware that this was going on. But, you know, I have somebody that I know that was 19 years old that looks like my son, very similar in description. And he disappeared like 4 or 5 days prior to this. And I have to leave the area not wanting to do it with my hands tied and guaranteed made sure my son was safe, that he was armed. I will admit that. And he knows how to shoot. But when somebody is doing a search party and they're coming onto my property without a warrant or even asking me to search my property and then telling me or my son that he doesn't own it and then searches without permission, I have a real problem with that. So
That's wrong. That is wrong.
Yes, and it's very confusing though when you've got a more important issue, and that is Dylan missing. And it's very upsetting.
Yeah.
We are very upset about this.
Yeah,
We
I
like
understand.
that boy. We like that boy. He's a good man. You know, but he didn't look like a man. He looked like a child, but he definitely looked like a man. And he was a good person. He's a good person. But yes, it's confusing.
Yeah.
We're not treated well out there. And then, you know, like I said earlier, I'm going on YouTube every day and looking up Dylan rounds and then filtering it for just the day, just so I know what's going on, because nobody's communicating to us. I called the FBI. They talked to me for about 20 seconds. I called the police. I only got voicemail. I did have a tip at the time, but I found out it wasn't a good one. It wasn't anything to do with Dylan, but I did have a tip at the time and nobody called me back about it. I
That's
do know
wrong.
people have wildlife cameras on Pilot Mountain Road, and I don't know why they didn't ask anybody for that footage either. So the search really, really was horrid, which is
Well,
devastating to all of us, because my feeling is if one of us goes missing, another one, well, I guess we're shit out of luck. Excuse my mouth, but nobody's gonna come help us.
Yeah, there's even one camera on the
So
road.
it's upsetting.
There's even one camera on the road that records every single vehicle that approaches from the south. So they could go to that camera and they could see every single vehicle that has entered from the south. And then at the same time from the north, it's like you got to listen. There's very few cell phones out in that valley, and any cell phone that pings out there should be people that belong out there.
And if they don't belong out there, why are you out there would be my question. And I tried to call somebody with that tip too, because I don't know if anybody really would have thought of that, because you can't even go in a town of 200 people and do that. But when you've got a town of only 12 people and maybe 50 cell phones top that goes through there on a regular basis, what about the one that showed up that shouldn't have been there? Do you understand what we're
exactly.
trying to say?
Absolutely.
And we've
We
been trying to
brought
give
this
that
up
tip.
ourselves.
Yeah, and I've been trying to give that tip to people, and I can't get through to the family, and that's why I did call Chris from the mob crew, or I'm sorry, I don't know his website name, but and
Monsters
that is,
under the bed.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that is why I had him out there on my land. Is we're trying to do our part too, so it's just
Yeah,
discouraging.
it is, and it's frustrating because that is one thing that we discussed very early on. Because of exactly what you just said, there is so few people in that area where that cell tower is in that radius. They should very easily, law enforcement should very easily be able to find the data.
And maybe they did. I don't expect them to tell us everything, so maybe
No,
they
they
did.
won't.
Hope they do.
They won't.
I don't know, but I just thought it was a good idea, but like I said, nobody's contacted, every family out there that I've been in contact with, nobody has asked to search their property. I'm repeating
That should
myself,
have
I
been the
know,
first thing.
but
That should have been the
why?
first thing.
Why not? One of our neighbors, and I know it's been reported to the sheriff, it's not something that's probably a secret, but one of our neighbors can see Dylan's drive and saw him leaving every single night and coming home every single morning, which says to us for 2 weeks prior to him missing, he was not spending the night in Lucin. But nobody's asked us that. And one of them tried to tell the sheriff that, and the mother yelled at him and he called him a liar and told him to go away. And I apologize to his mother. I don't want to be saying stuff like that. But, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's
How's your
sad.
son now? Is he okay now? Has he got
Who,
over
my
the
son?
shock of? Yeah.
I got him out of there. We're not rich or anything like that, but when we realized that there was, when we got back after I told you I had that one load I had to finish, and then I was in a corner and had to leave him when he was confronted by those guys, the search party.
Mhm.
When I came back, we moved him out to Wendover. We've been in a hotel, my son and I. My husband's been out at the land, and I have gone out there a few times, but my son is not out there
Oh, that's
because
a
I don't
shame.
know what's going on.
I don't
And,
blame you for that.
and I know he's legally adult now. He did just turn 18, but he's still my kid. And
Oh yeah.
it's a problem. It's a problem for us, not having answers.
Okay, I have a few more questions for you, and then we're going to let you. Okay. So tell us about the rumor of that man that you said that was chased into the desert by the 3 Latin men.
Yeah. Okay. And no offense to Chris, I speak very quickly. So maybe he caught the story wrong. I know he said it once and it was wrong. It happened probably, I would say, 32 miles south of Dylan's property down Pilot Mountain Road. Like I told you, we have one main road. And I have a friend down there with the alpacas. He's ex-military guy, good guy, married, 2 kids. What we do down there is when somebody is on the side of the road and broken down, or we think they are, we will stop and see if they're okay, because you will die out there if you're left out there. Do you understand?
Mhm.
So, okay, he did that. It was at dark, it was at night. He said that he wasn't armed because he became complacent. It's been so safe out there, you know? So he wasn't armed, and he had these 3 guys on the side of the road, and he stopped and he asked them if they were okay, and he had a conversation with them, and he said that his spidey senses went up and that he decided he needed to leave. So he started to pull away in his pickup. And when he started pulling away, they started shooting at him. So he threw his lights off on his pickup truck to try to get away, you know, without them seeing him. And then his truck died. And then he had to run into the desert, and they were shooting at him the whole time. And that was
So
5 days. I called it as a tip because when I first heard it, I thought the men were on foot. And I was thinking that distance, it would take you about 5 days on foot from Dylan's to this alpaca guy's house. And I thought maybe they were related. Maybe they were trying to rob Dylan like it looked like they were trying to do with this guy. But I found out later that they had vehicles. So that doesn't make sense. And like I said, it's 32 miles south. Granted, it's, you know, it's on the same road though, in the
so
desert.
you wouldn't consider them having their own little army? Like what was that even about? Like why would they
He thinks
even
he was,
do that?
he thinks they were going to rob him.
Just
Oh.
from somewhere.
Yeah, he just thought they were going to rob him. He said they looked, you know, he just did not, they didn't, let's just say when he stopped and spoke to him, like I said, his spidey senses went up. So I don't think they were the best, like, first impression characters. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't like the way they looked and what they were saying to him.
Right.
So he got scared. And this ex-military guy that went to Afghanistan, so he boogied out of there. And like I said, they shot at him. So yeah, he knew something was wrong. Thank God he ran. But
And
that's the only incident I know of out there in the last 4 years, except we had people robbed 2 years ago.
and what about what they're talking about in May, that a man was found out there that died from the elements and he was barefoot or something?
Yeah, I heard that in passing. I probably know just as much as your YouTube viewers. That's probably where I got it from.
Okay.
And Candace, I don't think
Just a little.
Kaz
I know
actually
it's
figured
true.
out. Yeah, we know who he is.
Yeah, he died of the elements. And let me tell you, like I keep telling you guys, anybody thinks that there are any squatters out there, really look at the 41-year-old guy that's dead.
Yeah.
You're not living out there unless you own land.
Kaz,
And
we
you can do
found
it.
the man that was found in the desert. Do you want to
Yeah.
touch on him for a minute? Jim's on his way up.
Yeah, I was looking for his actual autopsy report.
We got a
But
lot of stuff
I
after
couldn't
this.
locate it before the live because I had the appointment. But it just said it was located in May. So the rumor was he was found in the search for Dylan, but that is incorrect. It was actually found in May.
Okay.
Actually about a month before Dylan actually went missing. Oh, not quite a month, but almost a month before Dylan went missing. So
If anybody wants to buy one of these pretty little bunnies, you just get a hold of me and we will have them shipped from Utah.
yeah,
That's news to me, but yeah, sure. We get babies all the time.
I'm kidding. I want a bunny. Look at
Yeah,
how
we get
cute they are.
We have babies like every 6 weeks or so. That's just some of them in the beginning. I didn't expect to send you guys pictures. It's something I shot off my phone real quick.
I like the
Like I
little
said,
black one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure I think that's all that we wanted to find out about Lucin and
Okay.
these rumors about the squatters. Ladies, what else do you want to ask Miss Lucin?
no, you've been, like I said before, Miss Lucin, thank you very much for coming on and explaining, giving us a background of exactly,
Oh, I have
actually
another
like.
question.
Just thought another one. Here we go.
Have you
Okay.
so you living in Lucin, we talked earlier about, I asked you where you went food shopping. You told me West Wendover.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Montello, to the
Yes.
Cowboy Saloon or the Saddle store.
Their store. Neither of those. Yeah, the gas station store. Yeah,
And
that
how would
was.
you explain that, like the people around there?
Okay, well, I would say that was probably 4 years ago. I went in there and, I was all excited about buying my land. And, my family's from Ohio, and I have a lot of farm family down in Southern Ohio. And I've been in a lot of little towns and in the Midwest and stuff. So, I think I expected that kind of greeting. So I went in there and talked to the guy behind the register, and I'm sure he owns the store, and told him how were his new neighbors and where we live and blah, blah, blah. And it basically was cold, uncaring, grump. It was quite shocking because I expected the small town, camaraderie, niceties, and I didn't get
Welcome.
that. Yeah.
Welcome,
So,
Jim, the PI.
Hey guys, real quick, before you let this lady go, I have some questions because this is all over the place. This woman got a hold of me today with
Yes.
with a couple of direct stories, and there's people in the chat room, and now they're confused because there's alpaca and a llama and a militia group. Give me one second. I'm gonna hold on, ma'am. Give me one second because I want to get this lady on the right track. I want her to tell the story again about her son being accosted at his home. I want her to tell the story again. By the way, ma'am, how far are you from where Dylan Rounds, from where the saddle sword, Dylan Rounds, all that stuff are? How many miles away is that from you?
About 27
miles away. So if there was a group of guys like the Wadsworth family and all those people running around in that desert with ATVs at, let's say, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, it's pretty safe to say that that's not your neighborhood. You would not know about that. So
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't.
Hold on. There's no militia groups in your area. There's
Good.
no people doing this in your area, but that's not to say that this isn't going on in that other area, correct?
No, I never said that, and I would agree with you 100%. I don't know the area, and I've always said that. I don't know the area. I don't go there. I go to Wendover. That's it, in Salt Lake City. I've never even been to Grouse Creek, which is where I'm supposed to get some free post office box. I've been to Montello twice, I said like 4 years ago. I don't know any of these people. I don't know Chase. I don't know these people.
Yeah, her audio, guys, is absolutely terrible. I can't hear a word she's saying.
Oh, I'm saying I never met anybody. I don't know Montello very well. I've only been there twice. No, I don't know any of these people, and it's very possible they could have been doing that.
Okay, yeah, because now what we've got is people in the chat room saying, well, this lady says she never saw these groups. So they're technically, 30 miles away from you. So it's not like, okay, so we're talking about two totally different areas.
Yeah, Jim, can you give me 1 second, please? Because this is something I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, because your audio, ma'am, your audio is terrible. I can barely hear you. Let me grab my coffee because I'm all amped up. I'm glad people are in the chat room.
I don't know why you can't hear me. My mouth is on my speaker. I can't do anything
it's like your sound kind of went back into a muffle a little.
Into a muffle. Okay. Am I clear at all now? Or maybe I'm too close?
The last time it seemed to come back in, but this time it's still at a distance.
Okay.
You're back.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Now I'm back. Okay. I don't know what it is. I moved in the room a little bit. But no, what I wanted to tell people out there is that I catch a lot of people speaking and they keep confusing Lucin with Montello. Like people are talking about the bar in Lucin or the buildings in Lucin or the business in Lucin. And I keep telling people there's nothing like that. There is no businesses. There is no commercial anything out there. They're just farms and cows. And and we're different. We're Utah. It's different. It really is. The laws are different. Everything's different. And everybody keeps talking about Lucin and saying meth heads and squatters and whatever these people are saying. And I'm like, really? Where? And maybe in Montello, I don't disagree with Jim. I believe it's Jim at all. It could be very well true. But I will say something about this, is that if this vigilante group is going through my valley at 3 a.m., I know it. I hear them and I will see them. I'm a night owl, and believe me, there's nothing else out there. It's dead silent. I hear the train 5 miles away,
How often do you think that train comes through?
6 times a day about. And at night.
Okay.
Hey guys, if I can interject here, if I could just have a few minutes with this lady. So you called me today, correct, ma'am?
I did.
Yeah,
And I was upset.
Okay. Yeah, and you were very upset. She was crying. She was emotional. She's cried on the show. And guys, I am not watching the chat while I'm on this. I've got to focus totally on this. So if there's questions out there, by the way, I see we got a new lady up here. I'm not sure who that is.
Jim, this is Iconic Jim.
Nice
Iconic,
to
are
meet
you
you.
the one that had the little rat that passed away? Is that you?
No,
No.
that's Shredder, but nice
Okay.
to meet you.
I apologize. Now, real quick, let me get this kind of composed and put together. So over the last, now I am no longer working on the case actively. So let's get that out right now. My number is out there. This woman contacted me and she had an extremely bothersome story to me. And I'm going to kind of go over this here just so we could get kind of direct. My voice is a little louder. Ma'am, if I'm off on this, you and your husband correct me. You have an 18-year-old son who's homeschooled, correct?
Yes.
Okay, there's a little bit of a delay with him or something. Does he have autism or?
No, he's highly intelligent. He was in advanced groups when he was in school. And in fact, they didn't know what to do with him in third grade. They had him in the back of the room reading books because he was even smarter than the smartest kids in the valley.
Okay, so he's a smart kid. He's standing out on his, he's smart. He's standing out on his property. Take me through what happened to him. And if he's there, I'd like to hear from him. I thought when I asked to speak with him earlier today, you said there was a little bit of an issue with him communicating with people. That's why I thought maybe there might be an issue here.
No, I just don't think he wants to talk about it.
Okay, so tell me what
happened. Yeah, and he just said this is true to me.
Tell me what happened to your son.
What you want? I did tell them, but I'll tell it again.
I want to hear it again because I have some questions, please.
Okay, he was in the generator house. He heard men speaking. He came out of the generator house and looked up where the voices were, and they were standing at my solar panels with their ATV. There were 3 of them, and they basically said, Alex said to them, my son, sorry, I did say his name. This is private.
Let me stop you there because there's a shitload of people in the chat room, including myself, that don't know what a generator house is. So you're not home. Your son's home alone. You live on how many acres?
I have 320 acres.
So you're on 320 acres. So when these people come to your house, if you're on 320 acres, it's not like you're in a residential cul-de-sac where people could come up and ring a doorbell to sell you something, to deliver a pizza, Amazon. You're not used to people being talking outside your house. So your son's in, and what's a generator house again, just for people that don't know?
It's just a shed we built where we have the generator in there and all our batteries.
So your son's in a generator house on almost 300 acres, and he hears a couple of guys talking outside the shed. What do those guys look like? Are they imposing guys? Do they have uniforms on? Are they carrying firearms?
Teenagers, I believe.
He said they were pretty young, teenagers, 20-some. That's news to me, by the way. I've never asked him that question.
Are these men law enforcement?
No.
Do these men, so your son comes out and asks, who I'm sure he doesn't see people on the property much, he asks these people, who are you? And what do they tell him?
Well, he didn't say, who are you? He said, this is private property. You're not supposed to be here. And they said, we don't think you own the property.
So you got 3 men standing on your... You got three men in ATVs that come out to your property. You said what? How far in do you need to travel to get to this generator house? You said a half a mile, right?
Quarter mile.
So you got to go a quarter mile in order to get to this generator house.
Yep, past my private property, no trespassing, nice sign. No hunting, no fishing.
Now listen, I got a little bit of a different background than your son. If 3 knucklehead 20-year-old guys came to my property and they asked me what the fuck I was doing on my own property, I would have turned their head into canoes. So your son gets out. Your son gets out. Your son's obviously not that guy. Your son gets out, and what does he say to these 3 men who say, no, you don't live here?
What'd you say?
Barely understand that.
He asked what you said when they said you don't own the property. What did you say?
If you want to put your son on, you can. I'm not being disrespectful here.
Yeah.
Okay.
If your son wants to talk and he's in the top of his class, put him on right now. Otherwise,
Jim is passionate.
Okay,
Jim is passionate.
He's talking.
Hello.
There we go. Hello.
Alex, how are you?
I am doing fine.
Alex, I'm not going to keep you long. Alex, you in school right now?
No.
I am not.
You're not going to go to college?
He's studying constitutional law.
Hey, Alex, tell your mom you've got this phone call. I want to talk to you, Alex, with all due respect, please.
Yes,
Is that
yes.
okay? Okay, Alex. So are you going to college next year, Alex?
I believe I'm going to college either this year or next year. It depends.
God bless you. Now, Alex,
Nice.
you're sitting in this shed. Seems like there's 50,000 sheds out in that part of the country. You're in your shed that houses your generator. You hear some stuff outside. Is that normal for a piece of property like that for you to hear three guys hanging around outside that shed?
Considering how far in it is, absolutely not.
Now, what happens? You go out there. Are you scared?
A little bit, to be fair. I headed out
What these
there.
guys look like?
They looked like teenagers.
Were they armed?
I could not see any arms if they had any.
Okay. And now how did that conversation go? They tell you that this is not your property, right? You don't live here?
Is the right word paraphrasing? Oh, whatever. I don't remember the conversation exactly anymore, so I'll just go through this roughly. I went out, I saw them up there. I don't even remember what they were saying in the first place, but okay, so as for the parts I remember, I asked them who they were, and I believe I made them aware that it was private property. They told me that they were friends of, I forgot his name too, Dylan. They told me they were friends of Dylan's, and they were looking around. I presumed they were part of the search party, but I couldn't be too sure.
Did you know, Alex? And first of all, Alex, you sound like every guy that's ever called me trying to sell me car insurance. So I absolutely love you. But Alex,
Right.
you're doing a great job. So, and guys, one of the reasons I'm doing this is how I would this is how I would do an investigation. This is how I would question somebody. This is how I have questioned people out there. So we're kind of pulling the curtain back. Alex, you're doing a great job. Most people aren't used to being questioned like this. So, Alex, you go out there. They said they're friends with Dylan Rounds. Did you know who Dylan Rounds was at that point, or were you like, who the hell is that?
Roughly. Very roughly. I knew he existed. I had a general idea of who he was. Other than that, no.
Did you ever have a run-in with Dylan or talk to him on passing
No.
by or anything? Because you guys are the same age.
No.
And these men are all on four-wheelers?
Well, they were on foot at the point I saw them, but I noticed they had two vehicles a ways back.
So they start talking to you. So what goes on next? So now they tell you why they're there. You tell them it's your property. I was told that they made you let them search your family's property.
Well, they just did.
Well, they asked to search the property, but let's be real, they didn't ask, they forced it. Come on.
So these men forced you. Why did you not call the sheriff's department or the cops right then? I mean, you had to be scared. These guys could have kidnapped you. You got people
On one hand,
30 miles disappearing out there.
On one
Because
hand,
it would have taken 2
yes.
hours to get there.
On the other hand, number one, the only source of communication I had was, to say the least, not in my access. That wasn't worded properly. Oh well.
You have your cell phone on at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
And number two, how would they have even gotten there? We're in the middle of
you
a
can't call the cops.
bushes.
You're on your own. So what goes on next? They had already searched the property, and we're asking you, or did they continue to search the property once you had made contact with them?
I do not I do not remember what they were. No, I didn't word that properly either. I did not know what they were doing prior, but after I allowed them, quote unquote, to search the property, they looked around for a little bit. They complimented it a little, and they got on the bike, the ATV. I'm not sure what to call it. ATVs. And left. Kind of went up the hill. Presumably,
did they go in your house?
No.
I do not know if they did or not, but most likely no. I was not there at the time. They could have very well searched the property while I was unaware of their existence.
Ugh.
And this is after this boy went missing, by the way. People are asking whether or not this happened before or after. So these people are actively looking for that. Now, Mom, are you still there? And can you and Dad hear me?
I'm here, yeah.
Regrettably.
So you leave this your child behind. He gets this. When do you find out this happens? Because let me tell you something. I'm not a parent. I don't have children. But if I got a call from my 18-year-old brother or my sister or my cousin that says, "Hey, I just had 3 goons at my house. I don't know how they got there," you had to hear about this story, which had to put you into a frenzy, because you're telling us and everybody that'll listen that your place out there is the fucking Xanadu, and you got 3 guys over here accosting this kid in some sort of a shed. How did you find out about this, your son, and what did you do?
Okay, and can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me clarify something. There's a legal issue why we say sheds. On my 160 acres, I have 2 of them. I'm allowed to have 5 sheds, which basically is a building that is under 250 square feet. So when we say shed, it's for legal issues. Okay. It's really, you just don't get where we live there. And, so the shed is a building with windows. It's a powerhouse. It's not some dilapidated shed. We just built it like 6 months ago. And my husband owns a construction company. So it's damn good.
Okay,
so
I'm
a little pissed off when people call it shamracky sheds or whatever you're insinuating with that. And I will calm down. But yes, you make me angry, to be honest with you.
It's a mechanical room.
Yeah, it's a mechanical room. We're not trash, dude. You think
Mom,
you're
the one that called it a shed. So when you talk to the rest of the country and you say shed, I'm thinking something that somebody bought at the Home Depot on Saturday.
Okay, I will concede that.
No, you said shed.
I get it. I will concede that.
Yeah, I'm not the zoning
I understand
commission.
that.
You can tell me it's a building.
I agree.
Tell me about your son. So you come home and you find out that these 3 knuckleheads were out there accosting your son. Did you get in a car and go look for these guys?
No, of course not.
No, they are searching for Dylan. We want Dylan found. We would have given them permission to search our land. Our son is not apprised of the situation. They ran up on our son. They invaded my land, and they searched my land without permission.
And told us we didn't own it. They told Alex they don't think we own it.
Okay, and we're losing you on the audio again. So that's what the father just said is what I want to get out. He's upset. He doesn't like the fact that this went on. See, because when I first got the call from these people today, it was like, you're not going to believe how this mom is shaking this area. People are pissed at her. She's got people coming up on ATVs accosting our 18-year-old kid. And now it sounds like, well, he's in this little building with windows and, they already searched him up. So this irritated you.
Okay, listen, you have to understand how large our land is. First of all, we have other structures that they could have gone through that my son was not even near it. He's on another side of our property. We have buildings, and so he was down there in the powerhouse because he's a typical teenager and wants to be on the internet. I have Starlink down there. Okay, so he's down there on the internet, and these guys have to go at least a quarter mile to get to that.
Ma'am, we're losing you again. Ma'am, you got to correct that phone.
Yeah, the voice went out again.
Okay, am I better now?
Almost.
I don't know why it's going out.
We'll wrap this up here in a second. So go ahead. So you live on. Can I ask you a couple of stupid questions, because I got buddies that are PIs that are watching this right now. And with all due respect, I'm not being disrespectful to sound like I'm yelling at you. It's only because I'm in an area where I can't hear myself. With all due respect, you got 320 acres. You told us how nice these sheds are. Your husband sounds like an educated guy. Your son's an educated kid, you said. You seem like you got a good thing going on out there. Do we not have cameras on 300 properties? No trail cams, nothing? Can you post a video of what happened to your son? I would think with that kind of property and with what you got out there, you have cameras on that property, correct?
No, we don't have cameras. We wouldn't even know where to set them.
Okay, so no cameras on the property.
No, but there are cameras down Pilot Mountain Road. We know people that have them.
Do you think, and this is the only last question I have, then we'll let you go. Do you think at this point now maybe it's a good idea to put some surveillance cameras or maybe a trail camera up at your house so that if something like this God forbid, ever happens again, at least you got photographs of who these people are. I mean, if your son would have come out of the house and said, I'm not answering your questions, they could have kicked the shit out of him. You know what I mean? I mean, they could have said, well, I don't give a fuck. I mean, we don't think you live here, so we're going to search the property. It would have been nice to have some documentation of who these are, right?
Exactly. Oh, yes. And to be honest with you, I would assume those men were armed. They were always armed. Everybody's armed out there. And I'm sure Alex assumed they were armed too. Can you hear me now? Am I clear at all?
No, we're losing you guys. But guys, I'm done with the questions. I just wanted to clarify some of that. Do you guys have any other questions?
No, I think she did great.
Real quick. So can I just say something about the cameras, please?
Sure.
Is that you have to understand that we've pretty much been going out for the last 4 years, setting up infrastructure so we can live there. We literally we were living there like 2 days. We moved in before Dylan disappeared. And ever since then, I've been out at Wendover. Our plans have changed. Of course, I'm going to put cameras up. We weren't really living there originally. I just brought my son out there. I mean, he's never really been out there. Except for 4 years ago. We were doing it, my husband and I. You know, we're in our 50s. We're young and spry. We know what's going on. We're armed. We're not stupid. You know, so, no, of course we want to do wildlife cameras and cameras. That is the plan. So just so everybody knows out there, I'm not an idiot. You know, I get really offended when I feel like people are judging our lives. It just really upsets me. You know, it's just
my only comment of that is, you know, you're taking this very personal because
I am taking it personally because you
contacted me, ma'am. So the reason I'm saying this is, and I tell people this all the time. I tell my parents this. I tell my cousins this. I tell my brothers and sisters. So I don't care if you live on 160 acres, 220 acres, 300 acres, or you live at Giant Stadium. Put cameras up at your house. Put a ring doorbell.
I
agree.
Other thing
is, ma'am, people are always watching. You're always being watched. I don't care how many people you think to see him that you're coming. If your husband's from Chicago, he should know this. People are always watching. You can't trust anybody these days. You got a quiet little town, and correct me if I'm wrong, you got a quiet little town 30 miles from where this kid went. And in the next 6 months, that place is going to be the next dead zone because it's going to be looked at if they find or don't find this kid. Just like it was when that girl went missing in Aruba. You couldn't get a cruise ship down there for 3 years. So you got to understand that this is going to change the landscape of that entire area for the next decade.
You know, and that's a shame because last weekend 30 people were shot in Chicago, but people are staying in Chicago.
So, you know, I hope that's true about Montello, though. If it's really that screwed up and everything, yes, I want it cleaned up.
But Lucin is not Montello.
Yeah.
It's not the same county. It's not the same state. It's a different valley. Montello is on the other side of the mountain.
Exactly.
It's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same.
I appreciate you guys coming on the program. I don't know if the ladies have any more questions. I wanted to make sure I asked you that. I can't see the chat room, so I'm good to go. Guys, if you have anything else, fire away.
Yeah, she answered. She gave a great interview. She shed a lot of light on Dylan and their interactions, the land, the day of the rain, the water. Thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Lucin.
You're welcome. I just want everybody to know out there that this is an emotional roller coaster for us and that we're going through every emotion and we're very numb and upset and scared and sad and confused and very worried about Dylan, you know, and yeah, I guess people can attack us, but it hurts. But it's really hard to make that a priority when Dylan is missing. We want Dylan back.
That's the main priority.
Everybody keeps talking about such a crappy Lucin. Well, I hate to remind everybody, but Dylan lived there. So if everybody's worried about Dylan, which we are, and care about Dylan and think he's such a wonderful person, which he is, you have to recognize there are others out there just the same.
Let me ask you this. You're the mother of it. This is the last question I have. You're the mother of a teenager.
Yes.
Your son, it sounds like your family is close. You're worried about their safety. Would you buy your son 30 acres? I'll tell you what, I'll buy your son 30 acres right now and stick him out there. Would you put him out there alone as an 18-year-old kid in that meat grinder?
I wouldn't put him out there alone just because the elements are so difficult.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. I will give you a call tomorrow and we will talk again. But I greatly appreciate you guys coming on. Tell your son I said thank you.
I will, and I apologize to everybody for getting angry. That is not a side I like to show.
You're passionate about where you
very
live.
upsetting. Everything's very upsetting. And,
It
you know,
is.
reality really hasn't hit us because of everything that's going on. I am watching the search parties. I am seeing what everybody's talking about. I'm out there. My husband's out there more, but, you know, like I said, I've been going in and out too, just leaving our son here in the hotel, which, you know, like I said, we didn't expect that. So, you know, it puts us in a pickle too. You know, you don't know, it's expensive. And I don't mean to mention that, but for Jesus Christ, think about the other people that are out there and what we're going through too.
Exactly. 12 families that live out there.
And ma'am,
yeah, and they're
just
beautiful
to clarify
people.
this, ma'am, you guys, those bunnies that you had up, you guys aren't eating those things, right?
The whaties? The bunnies?
The rabbits,
No,
you guys aren't eating.
no.
You're not raising rabbits for meat out there or anything, are you?
We have never, ever eaten one of our rabbits. We have sold them to people for pets.
Okay, yeah, because if I hear that you're selling those rabbits for meat, I'm coming on your property and I'm stealing them.
Okay, let me tell you, can I tell you a quick story? We did have a farmer out there that had caretakers that decided to be farmers with all these animals, and they abandoned the farm, and we found out 2 weeks later and tried to save all the animals, and we saved the rabbits. All the others died, but that's why we got the rabbits, is that they were a rescue. So, no, we have no intention. They're cute as heck, though, and they have babies all the time.
Don't let your son start to. Okay, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank
Have a good night, guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
See, people, the reason I wanted to do that is there's 3 reasons here, okay? Number 1, there is a woman, okay? And I'm going to get to what I have. I've got the tapes. I know people are listening. They want to hear this, and I'm going to release that's on this program. But what I did there, I did for a reason, okay? I'm not as stupid as I look. And here's the deal. Here is a woman whose son was in a shed, was in an outhouse, was in a room that has a whatever the fuck, okay? And her son is accosted. The conversation that she told me, she tamed it down a little bit, which is why I've started recording phone conversations. First thing she told me today, because I wanted to hear her son, because I know what they're going to do. They're going to tear that kid apart. And here's what happened. I was told that this kid has some special needs, okay? And that he was at that property, with all due respect. So I brought the story of this woman up to some people in that area, and they said, hey, listen, because I wanted to see what people would say about this woman who is college educated, has a lot of property, seems like a nice woman, is willing to come forward. She's got an 18-year-old kid. I brought this woman up to a few people in her story out there before we came on this show, and they tore her apart. They tore her apart when she said anything bad about the mom, when she said anything that was against the narrative. They said that her son is a special needs kid. He has absolutely no people skills. He can't talk to people. He has no friends. He goes to a special school. He's not going to college. So what we've got here is a mother and an 18-year-old son, roughly the same age of Dylan, who, by the way, knew the kid, who has text messages with him, who basically son was accosted by these 3 guys or confronted, or however you want to say it. And she's emotional. She's crying. They left town. We got a mother over here whose son's been missing for 3 weeks, who they don't know where he is. And it wasn't until I gave her shit last night on other radio shows for this section, cut off the mother with the issue. I want this audio. I want this section. And I want from the beginning of that to the end, if you will do this for me, to be in one YouTube clip. I'm sure you can divide these. And I want everybody in that room to spam that out to everybody. To everybody in this case, to every Facebook page, to their Facebook page. People need to hear that, not just to vindicate me, because it ultimately will help find this kid. We found out a shitload of information from a very credible source, which I'm sure people will tear apart. I'm sure she'll be fired. I'm sure she'll be looked into. That's fine. That's an example of one call that I get about 30 of, and 20 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes after that, I'm getting called from people that want me to come back on the case, which, by the way, I probably will not do. Because of your station, and I will let this out as well, because of your station, I have gotten a case out of Colorado that I believe may be one of the biggest cases in the country here in about the next 30 days if it doesn't get solved. and it involves a woman being stalked and going missing by a bail bonds company that was trying to get her. They've called me because of this show and other shows. They like what I do. I'm not for everybody from the beginning, so I'm very blessed that these jobs keep rolling in. But if you get in the ring with the bull, you're going to get the horns, and I don't care. And I love these people in the chat room that are like, I can't believe this woman's going to lose his job. Wait a second. The private investigator just cost this woman her job. These are the same jerk-offs that 3 days ago were gloating that the family fired me. So kiss my ass. Questions?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to address a couple of the questions that have been the chat's been blowing up. Niece, somebody asked, did Kurt own the Saddle Sore Bar? No, Troy actually is on the papers as being one of the owners, not Kurt. Kurt does say he's the owner. Yeah.
Your audio, guys, is real bad.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm getting on my computer. Kurt owns the Cowboy Bar and Grill next door.
Yes. Not the Saddle
Not
Sore.
the Saddle Sore.
Yeah.
Okay, let me say something to you guys here real quick. I think the name, there's a lot of confusion as to who owns the Saddle Sore. It's a woman who owns it. Kurt Wadsworth's mom and the family's mom, who I think is 87 years old, is on the paperwork, and then they run the bar. They do not own that property. They stay on it. Correct. There is a woman named, and I am trying to find her name here. Her name is, keep talking.
Ella.
She's important.
Is it Ella or Ellen?
Ellen, that's it. Ellen who?
I don't remember the last name, but we don't have to say her last name, but it's Ellen.
She's called me, and she's very important. She wants to come on this show, too. And that was a second part of what I wanted to release here. This woman is the owner of it. She's reached out to me. Her name is Ellen Berg. Let me tell you why Ellen Berg is the owner of the Saddle Sore. I don't give a shit what people say. She's called me several times. Her son, who is Dylan, his name is Dylan, okay? His name is Dylan as well, is the man that caught Kurt in drag 15 years ago. The Saddle Sore's owner's son, who is now in his 30s, is the one that caught Kurt in drag. They live on the same property. He was 15 years old at the time, and I want to produce him for you so that you guys can listen to what he says about all this. Ellen Berg is the one that reached out to me. She's the one that owns the property. They lease it to the Wadsworths. The Wadsworths have felonies, so they can't have a liquor license, so they run it. There's also, from what I understand, some sort of a gambling element there, maybe slot machines. Yeah. The place is only open 1 day a week, okay? Ellen Berg and her son Dylan Berg are the ones that caught Kurt in drag several times when this kid was a teenager, because they would bring him dinner because he lived on the property. And I'm going to produce them for you guys. I think that would be huge if we want to. Or maybe I don't need to do that anymore because I've been somewhat vindicated.
Okay. Somebody's asking, is Ellen married to Don? No. Don's surname is not Berg. We know what Don's surname is.
Any questions, guys, from the chat? You fire away at me. It's hard for me to read that. And
people are wanting to know about life insurance.
I've not heard anything. That keeps being brought up. There's nothing that I know about life insurance policy on this kid. I don't know if the family has life insurance policies on this kid because he's still under the age of 21. I don't even know if when I was 18 years old, my parents had a life insurance policy on me. They probably would have killed me if they did. By the way, I do not own music. I'm also getting phone calls and emails and text messages and things in your chat that I own a music store in Florida. That is a family member of mine. That is not me. I do not own a music store. I am not a school teacher. I'm not a registered sex offender. Somebody put something out there the other day on me that I had a felony criminal background. Have I been arrested? Shit, yeah, probably a half a dozen times. It's how I understand this stuff. But never for any of the stuff that we're looking at here. Never for DUIs. I've never drank a beer. I don't smoke dope. I don't even eat Taco Bell. But what I can tell you is people are putting this thing out there with a guy whose name is James Terry. And by the way, if you look at him, he's an African American. It's not me.
Yeah.
So, Iconic, let's go ahead and pull up the third brother real quick.
This guy's a registered sex offender in Idaho.
Iconic,
right?
yeah, she can. Iconic's going to share her screen. She's got the intel
I've
on
never
this.
actually shared the screen, so you might have to walk me through that, but yes.
Iconic's
Click
nickname should be Red.
Oh,
Iconic. On the bottom, click the button that says share, and then share screen, and then you can share the tab that you want to share. Let's go ahead and see the felonies on this one. I mean, I guess 3 is a charm, right?
Are you able to see my screen yet?
Not yet. It's coming.
It's coming.
Okay.
There it is.
So these are the charges for the brother, and these are for the third brother. And I'm not going to say the name. If y'all want to say the name, y'all go for that. But all of the child exploitation and unlawful, you can just get a look at that.
Okay, you have to actually select which particular screen you want to share, darling.
Not sure how to do this. Give me just a moment.
Okay, when you click on share, you go share screen, and then you have a selection: entire screen, window, or Chrome tab.
Okay.
Yeah, so end sharing. Stop sharing and then reshare.
Oh Lord, I'm sorry, guys.
No, you're good. Okay, my computer has finally rebooted. I'm camping right now, guys, on a generator, so.
What kind of generator? Is it one of those Hondas that's real quiet?
Did that work?
It's a Sportsman 4500 dual generator, so I can put gas in it or propane.
Yeah, it's up.
So these are all for the
Read them to us.
Who is this?
This is brother number 3. It's not Troy and it's not Kurt. They have
the oldest brother.
Why don't you guys read some of that out, because it's real small. Why don't you go ahead and read some of those charges and some of those arrests?
Do you want me to read it, Iconic?
Yeah,
Okay.
Go ahead, Iconic. Go ahead and read it.
Okay, we have enticing a minor over the internet charge correlation pending for Idaho County, and that is in 10/22/2004. He is listed as a sex offender. Then we go down again. We have another sex offender complaint, unlawful sexual activity with a minor charge correlation pending again for around the same date. These just continue. It's like he got all of these at once, but then if we go down one more, it's in 2009. Enticing a minor, Class A misdemeanor. Enticing a minor over the internet, Class A misdemeanor. And that was for Utah. Then there's another unlawful sexual activity with a minor 3rd-degree felony for 2009. Then we have sexual exploitation of a minor 2nd degree. Enticing a minor, Class A misdemeanor. And these are all in 2009. Then we go down to 2001 and got a couple traffic things, it looks like. Let me go down a few more. In 2003, enticing a minor over the internet. Exploitation of a minor. Unlawful sexual activity with a minor. And this just goes on and on. Enticing another minor over the internet. 2004, he's doing it again. Another Class A misdemeanor. Sexual exploitation of a minor. It's like he keeps doing this over and over, and it's just not stopping.
How is this guy on the streets?
And this one even says he was found guilty.
How does this guy get internet access in a shed?
Right. So yeah, I don't know that it was actually Troy or Kurt. Which one was being accused of this? I think it was actually
Hold on, let me answer that question. Everybody keeps trying to put one square peg into a round hole. Kurt Wadsworth is the fella that I believe had the sexual relationship with Dylan Rounds. Troy Wadsworth is the man that had scratches on his arm, also has a lengthy criminal record. This man right here is, what is his name?
Do y'all want to say? Y'all can say.
Yeah, say it.
Okay, his name is Scott Wadsworth.
Okay, Scott Wadsworth is the guy that you're seeing here. This is the three uncles. So there's three of them. So the answer is two of the three have really nasty backgrounds.
Yeah, not a nice family by any stretch of the imagination.
What is? Oh, hang on. There we go. I had to kick my twin.
Everybody keeps asking about a life insurance policy, guys. Nobody knows if they have a life insurance policy. Nobody knows that for sure. You'd had to have asked the mom that on one of the 50 shows she's been on in the last couple of days. I'm not sure. And that's why it was important to bring up those liens. So we got a grandfather going behind closed doors, going a roundabout. Now, the mother said the $30,000 that was on a show today on a newscast. Where did it come up about that? That the money was deposited in a bank? You guys were squawking about that earlier.
That was in the beginning.
Okay,
that was at the beginning of the search.
Where's the $50,000 from the grandfather? And why did he need to pay why did he need a $50,000 bridge loan if he had $30,000 that went towards everything to grow fucking avocados or whatever he's growing out there? What's the $50,000 for?
Well, only his grandfather can answer that question.
Right. Well, the question is, the mom's got a lot of answers. Well, it's for his seed, and it's for his tractors, and it's for his things. Right, Mom? Did you know they gave him? I bet you the mom didn't even know he gave him $50,000. She didn't know they bought him the farm.
Yeah.
See, guys, some people are so far behind in this race, they think they're leading. And that's the problem that I have. That's the problem I've had from the beginning. In order to find a missing person, it's the days and the weeks leading up to the disappearance. That's the only way this gets done. I don't give a shit if they found boots in the desert. The cops will take care of that. I don't care if the truck was power washed. Who gives a shit? We've heard 5 different people with theories. Like the mother said, well, there would be track marks. The family that came on right now said the rain was so hard, there would be no track marks. That truck could have been washed by the rain. You ask somebody a question, you get 5 different answers. You see what I mean by that?
Yeah.
I
just want to address, Jim, I just want to address, it's all optics. Actually, she did in an interview while she was on the farm. She said, because somebody had brought up about this 30,000, she said on an interview while she was standing on, it was either the seed shed area or actually, it was at the seed shed. Somebody asked her about the check. Well, they said a check for 30,000, and she said it was put in the bank.
Well, somebody in the chat room saying she didn't say anything about 30 G's being deposited. She only says his bank account hasn't been touched since the disappearance. So did you hear something different?
Yes, I saw that in a live interview with Candace.
Now, who's this fellow right here? Is that Ted Nugent?
This is Joe Hornback.
And who's Joe Hornback, ladies?
This is the man that was talking to the social worker every day about Dylan that you told us about that was on the registry.
Oh,
and he
really?
absolutely is.
He exists. There's a real guy named Joe Hornback that was living in his own shit in a shed out there that knew about the Dylan Rounds case and knew about those women. So he exists. You know what? Guys, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. I thought the private investigator made this guy up. He's a real man.
I found him.
Wow. And he's a sex offender.
He sure is. Let's
and
see what he's about.
It's incredible. It's incredible that these people exist.
Born in 1942.
And if he's using that picture, you know that's probably the best one he has. Just saying.
Most likely.
I think he used a lot of filters on that photo, but I don't want to be disrespectful.
Yeah, he's on the registry. Registered sex offender.
So let me explain who this guy is, okay? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
On Friday of last week, a woman calls me. She said that she is a social worker and acts as a nurse. She helps people when the state calls her, if there's elder abuse, child abuse, whatever the fuck. She was at this guy's property Thursday or Friday. He lives in a shed, no running water. The state, somebody turned it in. This guy was living in a hovel. He was living in a shed. He was living in an absolute terrible situation. He's a registered sex offender, which she was mortified by. But as her job details, it's like a doctor. She can't help him because he's a registered sex offender. She can't say, I'm not going to help him because he's black. I'm not going to help him because he's Mexican. I'm not going to help him because he's gay. I'm not going to help him because I don't like the way he looks or he's a registered sex offender. Whoever they call her for, she's got to go out there and make a determination as to whether or not this guy needs medical attention and is being abused. She told me a story that was unlike, and guys, listen, I've dealt with cartels. I've dealt with sex offenders. I've dealt with them all, right? The story she told me that this guy was living in, I will tell you here if you want, which is that she got called there. I guess there was some law enforcement. There were some other people there. This girl in her 30s with a major degree shows up, and this guy has basically glued and melting into a rocking chair, a Barca lounger, and has shit his pants for the last 30 days. Oh, this guy basically was sitting in his own piss and shit for 30 days in a hovel, in a shed, which is why that mom needs to not say shed, for at least 30 days. He had no running water. He hasn't brushed his teeth. He's elderly. He's on oxygen. There's no food. And she comes out there, and guess what this guy's talking about when she comes in there to take care of him? Jim Terry, the private investigator in Dillon Rounds. And what he says is there's those people, this asshole, this sex offender, knew everything about the Wadsworths. Hell, they're all pedophiles, right? Him and the guys he's talking about have sex offenses. So he lives in the area. We're talking about a guy that doesn't get out much. And he's been there for decades.
He lives on this property right here in a shack.
Okay.
This is the property he lives on.
What this guy starts to say to this social worker that contacted me, and let me wrap this around and then I'm done, is he starts saying to her, that private investigator is on to something because of what happened to those 3 women. And the woman who's never heard of Dillon Rounds, who doesn't know what this man is talking about, who's trying to wipe this guy's ass and make sure that he doesn't need to get an ambulance, which he is refusing, by the way, basically says, who's Jim Terry, who's Dillon Rounds, and what are you talking about? And he basically tells her, Jim Terry's a private investigator. I think he's on to something. And I think that this man knows what happened. And the reason that I believe that this private investigator might be on to something is because I know, and who was the brother we just showed? Why don't you put his picture up there again, the 3rd brother with all the sex offenses?
Iconic.
I do not have a picture of him. I only have those records.
Okay, forget the records. The guy with the records, his name is what again?
Scott Wadsworth.
Scott Wadsworth had a situation where he took those women, these 3 women, and and she's going, wait a second. And she's listening to this guy in his own shit tell this story. And it clicks with her. Why? Because in 2018, she went to a house and took care of 3 women, 2 adults, and 1 woman. 3 adults, 2 adults, and 1 child, a girl that was under the age of 18, that were the ones that escaped these men. She's sitting there. Now, let me take you through this again. This social worker, this nurse is listening to this pedophile. And she says, wait a second, what? And he goes, yeah, there's a rumor out here that one of the Wadsworth boys had 3 women captive. He was poking holes in their water. He would only give them water or poke holes in the water if they didn't give him sexual favors. He had them in a storage bunker underground. He did all this. And this woman knows that this fucking whack job with tubes in his nose and his own shit is telling the truth because she took care of the 3 women that he's referring to. So she calls me and says, I'm going to lose my job, my friend, if you go public with this, and it might have to happen. But I'm telling you, here's what happened. And I said, so you're taking all your information from this pedophile? She goes, no. The same story the pedophile was saying is the same story the three women told me when I was sitting with them, making them better. They wouldn't go again. I says, how is this Wadsworth still walking the streets? And she said the women were so terrified they moved out of town. One was his girlfriend. One was the Wadsworth man's girlfriend. The other two were women that he used his girlfriend, who was in captivity for almost 2 years, to lure into his state. The one mother broke away. By the way, he kept them all barefoot and got rid of their shoes. That way they couldn't escape in the desert. And one of them made it to a post office box. She made it
there
to
he
a.
is.
She made it to. Who is this?
This is Scott
Okay.
Wadsworth.
I mean, hey,
This was back in 2007. Something about but he got in trouble a lot in Utah too about this. Exploited a teenage girl. Had been ordered by a judge.
So the mom going on these shows saying that nobody's poking holes on water, the cops don't know what she's talking about, are full of shit. It's right here.
Real fast, Jim, listen to this. Wadsworth was charged in late 2003 with 26 offenses involving his conduct with the teen, and later pleaded guilty under a plea deal of 3 charges: sexual exploitation of a minor, unlawful sexual activity with a minor, enticing a minor over the internet. He fled before his scheduled April 2005 sentencing and was caught in July of 2009, then sentenced in 3rd District for only 6 months to a 1 to 15 year prison sentence.
So this woman that talked to me dealt with these women in 2018. Now, I don't know how much they dealt with.
Oh, he looks like a creeper.
Well, if you go back to his pictures, I was told that in order to talk to him, you have to yell because he doesn't have any ears.
I don't even see any ears.
No, I'm making that part up. There's no ears.
But I don't see ears.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does he have ears? I mean, wait, why do you say it? Are you joking, or does this man not have ears?
He's playing
I was joking. I'm sure he was born with ears.
But where are they?
Hiding behind those cheeks.
I'll tell you what. I'll give him your phone number, and he can call you and tell you where his ears are. How about that?
Dear God, don't.
Dear God,
and you know what, guys?
Number.
Guys, we've looked into this for 15 minutes. You could look into this town for 15 minutes. Who the fuck is going to put a minor out there with $80,000 and tractors and a family, and he's an elitist kid, and he's telling everybody he's got money, and people know. He talked to everybody. He talked to this lady that was out there with the water and all this bullshit. This kid talked. And he talked to all these fucking monsters. He talked to Chase. He talked to Scott. He talked to Kurt. He was spending the night at these fucking guys' houses. Would you spend the night at Kurt's house, even if Kurt was a school teacher? If these are his brothers he's hanging out with? These are also the assholes that were patrolling that area looking for people stealing. And guess what? There's 2 boys missing within 30 miles of that area that look alike. What do you think the possibility is? Now, I might be way off. Somebody else may have killed this kid. This kid may have ran off and been living in Miami. But let me tell you something, Mom and Dad. Let me tell you something, Justin and Candace. Let me tell you something, web sleuths. I got to cross these fucking guys off before I get into a helicopter, before I drive out to fucking Montana or Idaho or Nevada. I've got to cross these guys off the list. And when you're telling me that this family has got scratch marks, that they're dressing in drag, that they're into minors, which, well, I must have been way off. And you got a 17-year-old kid who, by the way, the mom says, well, there's nothing on his phone. I'm not interested in his phone. I'm interested in the phone of these men, because these guys are on internets. These guys are on computers. These guys don't have running water, but they're using people online to get underage children and women, and they're pleading to it. The reason this monster didn't do more time, is the nurse told me, is these 3 women got the fuck out of the state and never came back. They also had no family. They had no family to go after these guys. The problem and the difference here is, how many dead people have they found since this story's gone on? 3? They found a 41-year-old guy in the desert who nobody was looking for. Okay, you find all these. What's the difference? There's only one difference. The family has money. The family is a somebody. They own trucking companies. And they came into town and turned it on its fucking ear. Otherwise, nobody would give a shit about Dylan Rounds like they didn't give a shit about any of the other half a dozen people that are missing or Aiden Klum. Now, I'm hearing from a lot of sources that Chase Venstra is back on the table. That there's some people that have turned him in and said that Chase might be back on the table and that he might have been using ATVs to get back and forth from where he was. Now, I talked to his parents, and they unequivocally told me that he was at a pizza place, that they picked him up. But there's people saying that he might have used stolen four-wheelers to be able to do a crime. I don't know what that crime is. So I think what we've got here, guys, is no matter which direction you look, is a lot of bad people.
So let's talk about now. Here's Chase Venstra. Iconic. Let's talk about the guy that was arrested.
And by the way, I've talked to him and his parents, his brother and his sister-in-law and his son. His son, and now this guy and Kurt Wadsworth are arch enemies. They hate each other. Kurt Wadsworth is the one that first told everybody this guy had kidnapped him. Kurt Wadsworth and Chase hate each other. When Chase got on the phone with me, and the family had a $5,000 reward, and I got on the phone with Chase through his parents. Chase's mom's a school teacher, retired. His dad owns a business, is a good guy. His brother's like an engineer, and his sister-in-law's like got a real good job too. She might be a school teacher or a nurse. They all talked to me. Chase got on the phone with me with his son, and the first thing he said is they're gay. And I says, I don't believe you. He says, no. He says, Kurt and Chase have been together. I says, yeah, but you hate the guy. What better way to bury a cowboy than to call him a homosexual? He says, okay, here's my son, who, by the way, Chase Venstra's son, who's 17 years old, worked on Dylan's farm as well, and told me that he was a homosexual with Kurt. So you got a lot of teenage boys out there working on these farms.
You know, like Iconic says, we would rather have too many puzzle pieces than not enough. I just want to hear what's going on. So now this man, I'll show you guys on the map too, where the truck was. This man was arrested. This is where something about the ATVs digging holes. He was just arrested. This Robert Lance.
Yes. And I'm not sure about the last name.
I'm hearing there's a whole lot of people there finally getting arrested on outstanding warrants to stay under the radar of crimes for Dylan Rounds. The reason that a lot of these people are now getting arrested is because they're arresting them on warrants in order to keep them in tow and to see if they'll turn on each other. So there's been a lot of people arrested in that town over about the last week, about the last 2 weeks, that have probably something to do with this. And the cops are finally starting to arrest them, where they've been walking around for weeks, for months, and for years. If what I'm telling you wasn't true, if the scratches on Troy Wadsworth's arms weren't by nails and didn't need to be looked into, then the cops wouldn't have taken pictures with him. Just because they're not telling the mom this doesn't mean that the family isn't in the know. From what I was told today, they want the mom to go out and do this bullshit because it's taking everybody away from the private investigator, me, and what's really being told to the father. The mom is getting a little bit of information. The father, as was told to us tonight by his coworkers and his bosses, is being told everything. That's why he hasn't said anything negative. They got rid of me because I was too close.
And then what were you saying today about them out there, and they arrested this guy? You're talking about finding something out, some of Dylan's belongings, or you can't discuss that.
I'm hearing different rumors.
Jess.
Say that again?
No, I said, hey, Jess.
I'm hearing different rumors that they found stuff out there that maybe some of Dylan Rounds' personal belongings have been found. I don't know where and I don't know what, but now Chase Venstra might be back on the table. So if that's the case, I talked to Chase. He conned me pretty good. I thought he was off the table because he was seen at a pizza place on video. His parents talked to me. I'd still be a little bit shocked, but I'd be wrong before. But the bottom line is Chase Venstra worked for Kurt Wadsworth. These guys were all in a group. Chase Venstra probably, now I don't know this, but he was beaten up. He was bloody, right?
Correct.
Okay, nobody's taking credit for beating the piss out of this guy. I wish it was me. I would have done it. Let me tell you why he was probably beat up. Let me tell you why he was probably bloody. He was in the fucking desert stealing, and that little vigilante group got him. They got him. 2 wrongs make a right in that town. Kurt, Scott, Troy, another guy named Sean, Dylan Rounds aside. I don't think he was a main part of that little vigilante group. or like the family saying I'm calling them a homosexual vigilante group. I never said that. That they were out there and they caught this fucking guy stealing and probably beat the piss out of him. That's probably why he's bloody. Nobody else can answer it. Nobody else is taking credit for it. I'm going to go with the fact that this guy has a lengthy criminal history, worked for Kurt, and has a drug problem and was probably stealing, and somebody beat the shit out of him. Either that or he got into a fight with Dylan Rounds.
So if Dylan were to pick Chase up after getting into some sort of altercation like that, could he have made potential enemies with whoever Chase had a problem with?
If Chase is involved in this, there's other people that helped him. And I believe those people have already been arrested on other charges. Chase is in jail. By the way, I don't think Chase looks like that anymore. I saw a more recent picture. Chase, is that his most recent mugshot? That's not his most recent mugshot. He's lost
there's so many mugshots.
Yeah, he's lost a shitload
thinner.
of weight. He doesn't have the beard anymore, but then I gotta maybe he grew it a little bit. His family was really, his whole entire family are good people. And I asked him, I said, what happened to this guy? And they said drugs. Drugs. This guy worked on Kurt's farm. By the way, why hasn't Kurt Wadsworth been interviewed on a channel? Why hasn't Kurt Wadsworth been interviewed by the family? Why hasn't Kurt Wadsworth tried to clear his name? Why isn't he out there saying, listen, if this was me and there was some private investigator running me down, I would go to one media outlet and say, this, and this. I have nothing to do with this. I'll help this kid. I like this kid. Here's my phone. They won't do that. No, they want me searching license plate of some car that was parked at a McDonald's. It's irritating. So hopefully what you guys will do for me as a favor is you will take the audio clip from the start of where that woman starts talking to me. You will take it to the end of this and you will post it around there and let people try to tear this apart. That woman's going to lose her job, probably. But she's got a pretty good lawsuit because she didn't do anything illegal. She didn't do anything that would jeopardize her job. If somebody fires her over there, she ought to sue him. She ought to fucking sue him. She's allowed to talk to me.
I hope nobody fires her.
Oh, she's done. I wonder if the family will put a press release out about her.
Look at how creepy they all look.
Now, see, this guy's, is he better looking than the guy with no ears?
I don't know, but the only picture I have, unfortunately, of Kurt is from the backside.
Well, and from what I'm hearing, that's the picture most people have of him.
This guy just gives me Dennis the Menace kidnapper vibes.
Can you see this guy getting a job like in movies? I could see him on, there was some show I watched the other day. It was, everybody keeps talking about it. I'm not a big Netflix guy, but it was about a bunch of little fucking kids, and there's like an alien living in their basement, and a kid gets kidnapped, and Stranger Things. Have you guys seen this?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, this guy would be, this guy could get cast in that. I could see him. Yeah. Stranger
Things.
So the guy that was arrested, what date was he arrested? Iconic, the Avelis.
He was arrested on June 18th.
And he was arrested on the, where Dylan parks his grain truck, or was that a rumor?
I'm not 100% sure about that one. I heard that he was digging some random holes and that there was a trailer removed. And I'm not 100% on either of those details.
Hey, guys, let me tell you something, okay? And I'm not being facetious and I'm not joking around. And this is going to sound like I'm messing with you. Nobody digs random holes in the desert. Nobody digs. Why the fuck? Dogs don't even dig random holes in the desert. Why would anybody dig a random hole in the desert?
Well, I think that's what kind of drew some suspicion.
You think? Now, the family will put people on ATVs to go accost an 18-year-old kid in a storage shed on his family's 300 acres while they're out of town, but they won't fucking confront this guy and put pictures of his scratched up arm on the internet. You tell me the fucking logic. And I got to fly out there and fucking deal with these people to realize they're bad people and what I'm saying isn't true. I have not told you one person that doesn't exist. I have not told you one person you can't connect. So they're wrong. They're dead wrong.
Oh, no, I agree. There's a lot of ways to get down to figuring somebody out in this day and age. It's not like 1990 where you have to actually go out and interview every single person face to face.
I am almost convinced that this guy does not have ears. I found another picture. Well, maybe he doesn't have ears.
I'm getting a lot of text messages and stuff. Just for the record, we are not related, correct? You're not my cousin.
No, we're not related.
Not even possible.
You're not my mother-in-law. You know, you're not my ex-nanny.
Really, your mother-in-law?
Your mother-in-law,
Jeez,
yeah.
gosh.
I mean, I'm only 24 years old. What are you guys talking about?
I don't think he has ears.
Oh, he looks much better with long hair. I mean, listen, I'll be the first one to go out there on a limb. Jesus Christ.
Ears.
I mean, you could just tell their family tree looks like a broomstick. Who's the guys next to them with the overalls on?
I don't know. I don't think that has anything to do with this.
Oh, okay.
But this is him. Another mugshot.
Will you guys be able to cut this up, take that section of that phone call and spam it out there and make it its own little... Because nobody's going to listen to that mother for 45 minutes to fight through to get to this. It's very important to me anyways.
I'll upload it for you tomorrow on my channel.
The woman gave her name on the show a couple of times. We heard it. Has anybody looked her up to see what she looks like or find her Facebook? The woman that did that interview, so at least you have a picture of who she is and what she's about.
Oh, tonight? The one from Lucin?
No. The woman that I interviewed on Friday that was calling me that sold the mother and everybody out. The one that works at the father's trucking company. She gave her name several times. I'd like to see what she looks like.
I've never looked her up.
Well, people should. It'd be interesting to see because that way they could prove who she is.
True. Well, guys, we're going on 2 hours and 48 minutes.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I will leave you ladies to it. I think I've proven my point to some degree tonight, and I don't think I need to keep doing this. That family's got bigger fish to fry. They need to get their shit together. You can tell what I deal with on a daily basis, and I'm sure somehow this will get squashed. But what I wanted to do was at least come out here on your channel like I promised and leave this with you. I've said everything that I need to say. Now people need to go out there and find that kid.
Absolutely.
Well, you said you're moving on to a case in Colorado.
Yes, a woman's being stalked by a bail bondsman out there and is in hiding.
Cool.
I hope to hear more about that.
Very, very interesting. Some of the other cases that I have going on right now that I've been working little side pieces on is a man that has a big time app called Sober Grid. He's in Los Angeles, him and his husband. He's another gay guy. So for those people who say I'm homophobic, I get a lot of cases. Bo Man, Beaumann. He went missing in Los Angeles. He texted 911 from an Uber and was never seen again. The family has recently retained me to look into that. His husband is a doctor in Michigan, or not his husband, his boyfriend, his fiance. They were getting ready to adopt a child. That story's been on Dateline, CNN, and Fox. I'm working quietly on that. A lot of people think that the cases, and I get this question a lot of people think the only cases I work at are the ones that are out there. Just so that people know, let me give you a couple of cases that I have solved that aren't big news stories, that weren't big on the internet, that weren't covered by web sleuths. A woman went missing named Tara Freeman. She was 47 years old, and I found her living behind a truck stop after a trucker that she was with dumped her off because she found out he was gay. I found her at a truck stop. She wanted to date him. Lori Cockrell out of Tupelo, Mississippi. Her remains were just found in the woods. That case is over with. Some of the other cases that I've worked is a girl out of Ohio named Alyssa Wood, who was being sexually molested and was pregnated by her foster parent. Ran away and went missing. I found her out of Ohio. I've got Anthony Smith out of Boise, Idaho. Anthony Smith was an interesting case. He went missing out of Boise, Idaho. He was a teenage 17-year-old boy, Anthony Michael Smith. These things are all out there. Anthony Smith, I found in a militia group in Bad Axe, Michigan. He was actually with a militia group that was trying to overthrow the government, and I fucked with the militia group leader's mom. so much and his grandfather that they dropped him off at a fucking police station. So guys, this isn't my first rodeo. Gloria Alvarado, people know about a lot of different cases that I've worked with, and those are what I do. So there is other cases I've worked that aren't involving missing persons, and I'll give you this one and then I'm done. One of the most interesting cases I had was about a year ago with a family who had a big farmhouse in New Hampshire, looked like something out of Norman Rockwell. The parents, who were in their 70s, moved to Florida and left the house behind for their 2 daughters who had children, this big house. The women went in this house, and after 2 months of their parents having moved to Florida and taken over this house, signs around town started popping up that their father, who had left them the house, had been a rapist and that he had raped women in that town. These signs were showing up on street corners, like garage sale signs would, like for sale signs would. The family hired me to find out who was putting up those signs. They were terrified. The cops couldn't even do it. I found out it was one of the girls in the husband's baby daddy who wanted her to move out of that house and move back into him. So there's a lot of cases I work that aren't on radio stations or on podcasts or YouTube channels that I'm very, very proud of. I'm very, very passionate. I have 2 speeds, stop and go. And that's kind of what I try to portray. So for anybody to go after me for what I do and say that I'm not doing it the right way while eating Cheetos and working at Arby's or being a midnight shift cook at the Waffle House, but because they have a YouTube channel, they can get 300 people to post on the internet. So what I'd like to say is I give it my best. I try as hard as I can. And you people never would have heard who I was if the family didn't handle it the way that they are. This is not because they fired me. This is not because I was let go from a job. If you go to jimterryfootball.com, you'll see all the different history of me on ESPN playing football, jimterryfootball.com. I've been fired and cut from a lot of football teams, a lot of jobs. This wouldn't be the first. But what I'm telling you is the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is because I've got to be able to defend helping people in the future. And if one parent doesn't hire me, whose kid I would have found, because these people want to make this a Facebook fight, I'm not going to stand for that. And that's my motivation, guys. Any questions? Otherwise, I'll let you go. I want to watch the end of the baseball game.
No, do you have anything, Mar?
Nope, I think I'm good.
813-993-2242. That's my phone number. You could call me at any time. You'll get the guy. I appreciate all the messages from Massachusetts.
It's a sex line.
All the messages from Europe, from Canada. All you people that have sent me, I got over 175 text messages from different people today that listen to these channels. Thank you so much. And it'll be interesting to see what comes out of this, guys. Like I said,
it will.
About feelings, and I have a feeling that if you do what I do, what I said, if you do me that favor, and I'm begging you, take that interview with that woman and please make it its own little YouTube stream and spam it out there, guys. And by the way, always do the show with your hair down. God bless.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up with this. Iconic, do you want to say? So after Jim was on our first show, in the Dillis, and this is pretty sad, guys, because in the Find Dylan Rounds official page that somebody shared off of Candace Cooley's page, they were telling everyone, and I'm just going to play it, to come over and to strike my channel down. Iconic, what do you think about that?
Well, I think that they acted as if it wasn't your channel at all, first off. And it's not fair to shoot Mar down. If you've watched her channel for a while, you'll see that she interviews people. She gets to know the case inside and out, whether it's a theory that seems crazy or it's the actual right theory. Whatever it is, she examines it. So you just need to give her a chance, sit back, hear what she has to say, who she brings on. She's not choosing a side. She's just trying to find the truth. Yep.
So I'm not going to read the comments, but there was one that stood out to me from a Shelly Piaz. And we kind of course, I'm going to look into you because you guys know I'm nosy. And there was one that we found living in Ogden, Utah, who seems to be the one that's starting this to come flag me, take my channel down because Jim was on it. And like Iconic says, we would rather have too many puzzle pieces and figure out what's going on and hear all sides. And you know what's funny, Iconic?
What?
When Jim was not fired and he was still the PI and he was on all the shows, everyone praised him. But as soon as he was let go and we wanted to know why, because we're nosy, it was like everybody was against him. And then they were against the channel because we had him on after he was fired. Does that even make sense?
I mean, I like to hear perceptions. Everybody has a different side. And whether it's right or wrong, at least now we know where he stood and why. And we can hear the mom and where she stands and why. And we can kind of figure it out for ourselves somewhere in the middle. You're never going to find the truth just looking down one path.
I mean, I would talk to Candace Cooley in a minute, but don't sit here and get mad at me because Jim is on my show and Jim is who he is. I do not control what Jim says or what Jim does, but I believe between the 12 families in Lucin and the lady we had on tonight that talked about Lucin and these 3 Wadsworth brothers and Chase, you can't make those 4 people up. I have to go with the fact that I think, unless the guy that got arrested today, who knows what's going to end up being, but those 3 characters are as shady as characters come.
Oh, yes, for sure.
So, but that's it, guys. If you guys want to go flag my channel for this, or this was ridiculous. So I just thought, wow, you're going to come after me because I had Jim on my show. Okay.
Really fair.
Everyone, thank you for coming in. Iconic, thank you. Cass, thank you. Jim, thank you. Miss Lucin, Mr. Lucin, thank you. And thank your son, Alex. And I pray that Dylan is found and we get answers. But I think that it's probably going to end up on the Montello side. So all information is important. Absolutely, Jennifer Robinson. Elisa Quesada. Hey, girl. I thought it was funny. I was like, really? I was getting messages like, go look at this. But what stood out to me the most, that the lady that was starting it, the Shelly Piaz, of course I'm going to look at who she is because I have to see. I found two in the country. One was in Ohio and one was in Ogden, Utah. And then I started thinking of Cindy Piaz that was mentioned from being an ex that was held in the shack. And I thought, are you related to Cindy? And that's why you're coming after the channel. But hey, you know what? We always think outside the box. So everyone, hey Chisme, thank you for coming in. Everyone have a great night. Stay vigilant, guys, and keep your babies safe. Anything else?
I just want to say thank you, Nay, real quick.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to thank Nay for the comment real quick.
Oh.
Other than that, thank you so much.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.